Build a life worth living. 360 success. 360 success.
Welcome back to 360 Success Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Knight. I am joined today by an amazing doctor, an amazing friend of mine, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you, Dr. Tonya Westerbeke. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we're actually at her beautiful home, and you can see in the background we're overlooking a pond and a pool. Beautiful space. We're doing some training together and getting ready to actually do our
Host our first conference together.
That's
right. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. We're going to have about a dozen doctors here, and we're just going to pour into them for a couple of days. I'm excited about that too. So having her today, we're just going to talk about how she got started. And when you hear her story and all that she does, she inspires me. We coach each other and keep each other accountable, and she kicks my hind end quite a bit. So I'm excited to dig into this. You kind of grew up all over the place, right?
So my dad worked for John Deere, and so we moved every couple of years. So I grew up all over the East Coast, and they were originally from Illinois, and we ended up in Iowa my senior year.
Okay.
So that's how I found chiropractic.
Yeah, well, look, just tell us about that. How did you found chiropractic? Because Iowa is kind of where it all started.
Yeah, I actually grew up having back pain my entire life, and it was always just brushed aside and said that I was just, growing too quickly, or my book bag was too heavy, or, all of the different things. Anyway, I ended up being diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis.
Wow.
Yeah, which was a false diagnosis. I think the doctor had just gone to like a conference because I had none of the markers or anything, hindsight 2020.
Suddenly everybody has AS.
So they tried PT and medication and all of that stuff, and nothing helped. We ended up moving to Iowa, Davenport, Iowa, the middle of my senior year. I was crying in school because my pain was so bad. And the nurse told my mom to take me to a chiropractor. And so I ended up in a chiropractic office, and 3 weeks later I was pain-free. That started my interest in chiropractic and changed my life forever in so many ways.
Changed the trajectory, yeah.
1,000%, because I thought I was going to be a nurse practitioner. Yeah.
Cool.
I loved that.
So Tonya, having known you for, I don't know, maybe 20 years or close, 18, I don't know. How long have you been in practice?
I graduated 21 years ago this October.
So probably known you about 18 years at least.
Probably.
And you've always had this insane work ethic.
Thank you.
You outwork practically everybody I know. And obviously that's a huge part of your success, but where does that come from? What do you just attribute that to?
I would say my parents and my family. My parents made a lot of sacrifices, moving all over the country without any support to raise us. My mom was left alone raising my brother and I. Mm-hmm. So, she made a lot of sacrifices. My dad worked really hard for a company to provide for our family. And, they both came from farms, and they grew up. You worked hard, you gave it all to how you grew and took care of your family. So I do have hard work ethic because of my family and the roots.
Yeah. When your family kind of models that, it just becomes ingrained in you.
Yes.
That saying where people are like, don't work too hard, like when you're leaving somewhere. My response is always, I don't know any other way. If I'm going to show up, I'm going to show up.
I'm not the brightest either.
Oh, you're smart. Don't say
No,
that.
I am, but I know there are a lot of people that are a ton smarter than me, but I do know I will outwork anyone. And I have no problem doing that.
I can attest to that. She outworks me. My wife calls her my conference wife because we would get up and work out together, and she outworks me in the gym. She can see way more patients than I can. And so you get up early and work out, and you've made that part of your lifestyle. Does that kind of set the tone for the day for you, or is that part of your rhythm that just kind of helps you?
I can definitely tell if I don't work out in the morning. It sets my mind right. I've accomplished something in the day, because sometimes we get to the office and everything hits the fan, and at least I know I've got my workout in, I've accomplished something. So something will have gone right today. It does so much for me, I guess. I don't know. It helps. I don't have the frustration. I work out my frustrations.
Yeah.
It grounds me.
And you'll listen to books or podcasts stuff too.
I do.
And just kind of get your headspace right. Your body's already moving. Most ultra successful people I know do that in the morning, or they do something similar to that in the morning to get their body fired up. And I call it so they can attack the day, rather than, because, if you're an entrepreneur out there watching this, that even if you work from home or whatever, as soon as you open your email, or you can get punched right in the mouth. And if you've had your warm up for this,
Yeah.
right, you don't step into round one cold. You've already warmed up in the locker room or the gym or whatever you want to call it. And so you're able to go out and attack the day in a different way than somebody that, wakes up. And we have people that work for us that they come in and, they still look like they have sleeping scars on their face and all this stuff. And
we're also chiropractors, and we need to practice what we preach.
Yes.
And we preach movement, and
Yep.
we should be preaching about health. And I have a hard time telling my patients to do things if I'm not willing to do them myself. So I feel like that's a big motivator for me as well, is that I need to lead by example with
Yep.
my children, with my team, with my patients.
Yeah. And, that proves itself successful in the people that go to you. Your patients, you have tons of patients, tons of wellness patients that are so loyal to you over, we were talking about the other day, 10, 20 years, some of these people have been seeing you and they don't want to see anybody else.
They will. They do.
Well, but as you get busier, and we'll talk a little bit about, you've started to do some coaching and mentoring and helping other doctors grow. But just like for your patients, you model that same thing and you continue to do that. Even as you're starting to kind of pull back a little bit out of practice, you still maintain that mindset because you apply that same work ethic, whether it's seeing patients or it's getting on the phone and coaching doctors or mentoring your team, which we're going to get into that too. That's one of her secrets of success. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you're also a mother of 3. You've been married for...
080706. So 19 years.
Okay.
We got married 3 weeks after we opened the practice.
Okay. So
that's PTSD. So that's why I can't do math.
Tonya has been married for 19 years.
19 years.
Yeah. And she's a mother of 3. And so let's talk about that, because I know from being in the coaching space for, a couple decades that one of the things that seems more difficult, and I'm not trying to make gender roles or whatever, but there's still a lot of that, right? And so being an amazing doctor and an amazing mom, an amazing wife, how do you balance all those things? Because let's be honest, some women or men will use it as an excuse for not being successful. Do you see that? I know you've seen that in your coaching.
Yeah.
Is it, well, I've got little kids and I've got this or I've got that. How do you do all that? Because you've had your children while in practice and continue to grow and keep going. So just kind of starting with that, how did you do that?
Well, I mean, a big reason why we were able to grow the practices is because my husband made sacrifices too and left his career to help support Back to Health, which is really huge because I don't know that we would have been able to get to where we are without his help and support.
You'd had to have a nanny or something.
Yeah, there were a lot of, I worked a lot of hours to build a practice to provide for my family. But that is how I find success, is I love to provide, like it's in my Enneagram or something.
Yeah.
But that's how I show my love, is to provide and take care of you. Some people, for me, it's providing financially, and everybody's a different way. There were sacrifices. I missed out on some things. I was always present for anything that was big, but the kids did know that I couldn't always make it to the field trips and stuff like that because the office took precedence, and it allowed us to put them in private school, and it allowed us to take really awesome vacations with our friends. I'm okay with that because there has to be a give and a take for everything, and nothing was sacrificed that was important, but there were definitely sacrifices made, and that's okay because that's what has to happen to achieve success.
Several episodes ago, I talked about the hidden cost of success. And there are times where, working Saturdays, I would miss soccer games. And there were times where I was the coach by default, and I would have to have the assistant coach coaching a game because I had to work. There are trade-offs in situations, but I didn't miss all the things. And I think today, parents a lot of times will feel like that their kids are going to be emotionally scarred if you miss a game or you miss an event or something. And they're not.
I mean, my kids knew mom had to work, and that's okay. I also was present for a lot of things that other parents couldn't be present for, because some people have to work 12-hour shifts and are mandatory overtime and stuff like that. So you can see the bad or you can see the good in it.
Well, and trust me, her kids have not missed out on anything. And
they're pretty amazing.
They're amazing. I have them call me Uncle Ryan. Last night, as a matter of fact, I'm like, from here forth, I shall be known as Uncle Ryan.
They do really look forward to Ryan and Amy visiting
Well,
their family.
they're great. Your family's great. We love you guys. Your work ethic and your success has been able to allow your family to do some things. And you've been very intentional in including your kids that's how we got to know your family, is through going to chiropractic conferences, and your kids and my kids were there, and we made it a family event. We wanted our kids raised around success. We wanted them to see, mom and dad connecting with other successful people, and they're becoming friends and kind of this network. And I think it's been extremely beneficial to them. So anything that was missed, I feel, was made up. And I'm not trying to justify it.
We certainly aren't perfect parents.
No one's.
There is no manual, but I think they're doing okay. They did miss out on some things, but it's okay for them to also see what hard work yields. I would much rather them see me work hard and have reward than for them to watch me sit around and just collect a paycheck.
Well, and I also think it's great because your two oldest are girls, and
Yes.
they're amazing. To see you set the tone for, you don't have to fall into a specific role that society may say that, you have to be a mom, or you need to be a stay-at-home mom, or you can have it all. And you can have a well-rounded life. You can be successful. You can be the provider and create an amazing life for your family. But it's a team approach. That's one thing you and Mark have done. Like you said, Mark has made some sacrifices, and he's worked in the office supporting you. He's, been the one that was running the kids everywhere at all the practices and things when you couldn't be there. And it takes a team. And that's one of the things we're big about in 360 is the family portion. And that includes the marriage and that relationship and the communication and the trade-offs, because it is. There's some days where I know you get home and you immediately have to go grab a kid and go still to one direction, and they're going the other. Now the two girls are driving now, so that helps a little bit.
It
But
does.
you still want to be able to get to all those things that you can't. So from the outside, your life looks amazing. All the trappings, all the things, the success, financial success, professional respect. What is Tonya still working on?
So much. I mean, I am very, very blessed.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful for everything that we've accomplished. I believe in therapy. So I go to therapy to continually work on myself, because I did mention I'm an Enneagram 8. And I can be very domineering and decisive, all the qualities that have served me well to get me where we have arrived at. But also, if I'm not in a healthy place, they can not be positive qualities. So I work on that. I mean, my marriage could absolutely use some work. Unfortunately, probably Mark and I are the lowest on the totem pole,
That is not uncommon at this stage of life. And when you have kids at home and you're running different directions, especially when they're all in sports. Fortunately, Ella and Mia, who don't mind me using their names, but they're close enough. They're a year apart in school, so that they sometimes are on the same team.
But we're still in different states every weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
Mark and I.
There aren't any close volleyball tournaments for the travel teams.
Or baseball.
They're called travel teams for a reason, because you're going to travel.
Yeah.
But going different directions for that. And so, one of the things I'm big with, and you and I have talked about this, is you have to be intentional with connection with your spouse. And a matter of fact, you and I were just talking the other day, we were driving. Sometimes you might have to miss a game, or you might have to miss a tournament to say, mom and dad have to reconnect. And that is extremely difficult, because you feel like they're suffering and that you're selfish, but you're not. If you will do that, and then you also model that this is a priority as well. You obviously want your girls and your son to have that, as you want them to see that, hey, mom and dad love you. We do everything we absolutely can for you, but it's also important for mom and dad to connect. And so I know that every married couple in this stage has to be very intentional to work on that. Otherwise, it's like one of the tires is flat on your car. You have the success and you're able to go fast, but it's just, one little thing and you end up in a ditch. And so being very intentional on that. And I know you guys try to do that, and this is extremely difficult to manage all the things, but also being an Enneagram 8, you run a schedule.
I like a schedule.
Yes. My wife has that tendency. So do I. Live and die by our schedules. you have to have it scheduled. There cannot be spontaneity because there's not a lot of room.
I don't have much room in my schedule.
Yes. And so, yeah, we talked about this. Like either you or Mark has to plan it. Hey, I would love to have a date night, but you're going to have to get on the schedule like a month out, and we're going to have to figure this out. Because, and I always tell people, and I've told you in our coaching conversations, that eating a hot dog at the baseball game doesn't count as a date night.
It does not. That does not qualify.
So you just have to work on that and be intentional with that. And I'm not trying to put you in the hot seat.
Oh no, but I don't know anybody that doesn't have something to work on. So
that's right. And I just wanted to bring that up because, like I said, you have incredible success. You have an incredible family, but you have to be intentional about working on those things. And you are, and it's something that you're constantly working on, because, a lot of people looking outside in, they think, oh, it must be nice. It is nice, but you also work your ass off to make it and to balance the family and all the things. That's why I love you. I love people like you, because you inspire me to push harder.
We're really fortunate to have really incredible friends and people in our lives.
Yeah, we do have a group.
Really good group of people that motivate and inspire all of us. Which is awesome.
And it's really awesome. And I encourage everyone, if you don't have a group of people that push you and that you can associate with and just literally mastermind with. We talked about we're having a conference here at your house in about a month, and that's what we're doing. I mean, they're multiple 7-figure producing offices, and we have a dozen people coming. We're going to be in your media room downstairs, and we're just going to spend 2 days pouring into these doctors and their spouses. And, you and I both have individual strengths in business and managing associates and relationships and things like that. And so we're just going to pour all that into these doctors for 2 days. And I get chill bumps thinking about it. I'm so excited. It's going to be life-changing for a lot of people. And, it was Tonya's idea. She just invited me. She goes, hey, do you want to help me do this? And I'm like, yes. When, where? Well,
we're at a place in our lives where we've done a lot. And this was covered in our conference yesterday that we were on. There's 2 things that I wanted to talk about from that. One, it's lonely being a leader. So I'm in a place in my life where I want to do projects with other people. And it just makes it more fun. Yes. So I don't have to be alone, and I might have to ask people, but I don't have to be alone. So I need to choose that. And I've been working a lot more at doing that. And then just to circle back, they were talking about you become who you hang around with. And we've all heard this 150,000 times, but was it John Maxwell yesterday? That said that, or somebody else might have even.
You become an average or the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around with most.
So you have to keep remembering that and reminding yourself of who it is that you want to become, and not just financially, but whose relationships do you want to mirror, and marriages do you want to mirror, and friendships and stuff like that.
Yeah, good. All right, Dr. Tonya. So one of the things that you've helped me with, and you continue to help me with, is pouring into your team and growing your people. I think it's one of the books we read that said you grow your business by growing your people. So let's just talk about that. What are some of the things that you do that you are intentional about? Because you didn't have to do that. You could be busy and just be the head producer and try to model that for everybody. But what you've done is you've become a mentor to your team and your doctors, and you're pouring into them and helping them grow. And let's just talk a little bit about that process. And first of all, what started that for you? What inspired you to go down that path?
Well, my team.
Okay.
My team inspired me. And I mean, I'd read and I knew that I wanted to make a greater impact, and that I could physically only see so many.
Yes.
And that was awesome. But then I had these incredible team members that wanted to grow with me, and I wanted to create an opportunity for them, because I wanted to keep working with them, and they showed all of the qualities and exemplified our core values. And I'm not going to lie, it was a really hard transition, because my identity is all wrapped up. And I would love to say I knocked this out years ago as we started to grow, but I still struggle with this. My identity has always been wrapped up in being the big producer. I was really applauded in front of a lot of other people and helped to gain my confidence based on my production. And so it was really hard to deviate from that and start to pour into others so that they could start to grow. And I would take a step back in the treatment room and grow them so that we could make a greater impact as an organization. So it's been a work in progress. And I'm really grateful, because one of my clinic directors actually has had to sit me down several times and just be like, I can only do so much if you don't hand over the reins. And I really appreciate and value individuals in my life that will hold me accountable. Because oftentimes when we're the leader, our team members will just let us do whatever and,
Out of
have
deference or respect, they're just,
yeah, but I do have people in my life and in my business that are strong enough and always with respect will say, but what if? And if Dr. Megan had not had that conversation with me initially, we wouldn't have been able to grow Zealand to what we've grown it to. We wouldn't have the other clinics that we have. We wouldn't be looking at the future things that we're looking to grow into too. So having the right people in your business makes it easier to lead and makes you want to become a better leader too.
You touched on something there. You have to have people in your organization, potential leaders or current leaders in your organization that aren't just yes people.
Yeah.
They have to be people that they don't avoid the collision. Like you said, they're respectful, but they will come up against you and say, look, I see this in you, or this is a blind spot in you. And sometimes it's, I see this strength in you, but you have a blind spot here that I think you're really missing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you can have people on your team like that. Some people are threatened and they don't have people on their team.
I don't always like it.
No one likes it, but if, and you're smart, but when you will take it in and go, and sometimes that collision, you have to take a minute because it's offensive. So, and you're just like, because it kind of attacks that identity thing, right? And you're like, I've thought about this. I'm the leader. I'm all this. But if you really try to get back and get that 30,000 foot perspective, you go, oh, there's a lot of truth in what they said.
Yeah.
And then for me, I have to make sure that I go back, and I'm not so good about it, but I have to go back and go, you know what? It's even hard to say. You were right. I was wrong.
Well, with all of my therapy and work and the books that I read and the conferences that I go to, I have gotten better because my instant reaction is to fight.
Yes.
And I've gotten better. And I will say that my doctors have also worked on growing their leadership skills. So their communication with me has also improved tremendously. Like, it's a whole organization goal and effort to make sure that we're all communicating at our best so that we can accomplish what we're all trying to accomplish.
Well, and again, I quote John Maxwell a lot because, he has 300 books or something crazy. And I've read,
and 14 more on the way, friends.
I've read most of them, but I think he says managers can grow your organizations, but leaders will multiply your organization. And developing those leaders is huge. And as you said, you have some key leaders. What do you look for specifically? Because you don't always hire them into a leadership position.
Correct.
Like me, I try to organically grow them into those positions. And so what things do you look for in your future leaders when you're hiring?
Well, work ethic.
That's big.
That's my biggest love language because you can't teach work ethic. So that's really huge because I also believe in being a leader that demonstrates by what I do, not by what I say. And so my clinic directors should be doing our reports the way that everybody should be doing them. They should be sticking to all of the procedures like everyone else. They shouldn't be doing things different because they're the clinic director. I should also be doing all of the exact same things as everyone else on my team. So my leaders should be changing the garbage, even though it's not their job, cleaning the bathrooms when they go in there. So those are that's probably the biggest thing that I look for because I want a team player. Because anybody will work with and for a team player.
Yes. That is one of my huge things, and Amy's as well, is when we're looking at our leadership, I'm watching who will pick up the trash in the parking lot on their way in. Who, if they see trash in the bays getting full or theirs gets full, and then on their way to empty it, they'll just go check all the other ones. I always do that too when I go into one of our clinics, and I'll try to make a point of, just grabbing some trash and emptying it. And for one, it's my place ultimately. Mm-hmm. But I think the attitude of service I'm here, I know I'm not treating, but what can I do to help them? Maybe they get to leave for lunch, a couple minutes early because I emptied all the trash in the bays or whatever. But I love that because you're absolutely right. You can't teach work ethic. People. Yeah.
And servant leadership skills.
Yes. They're willing.
You can try to train a servant leader, but it is very rare that you find that characteristic in somebody. And you can create that characteristic. Like it is either in them or it's not.
That desire to serve it's hard to develop.
It can be, but you have to really, really work at it.
Yeah. As you know, I'm married to somebody that is her love language is acts of service. She loves to clean and organize, and wherever she goes.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah. But her goal is to just make everywhere she goes and every person she meets a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously she's made my life better. I outkicked my coverage, as you can tell.
You sure did.
And you know, if the roles were reversed, we were talking more about her as a secret to my success. And she's an encourager too.
Yeah.
To me. And so, but yeah, that identifying work ethic in somebody and the servant heart. And to me, that is a heart issue. And you're not a very secure leader if you feel like that you need to sit in an office and push people. Leaders
Correct.
have to be willing to step in front. And especially when times are hard, when you see trouble coming, you may be in the middle of the pack, you may be at the back because you're mentoring and you're working here and there. But if you see trouble on the horizon, you have to be out front. You're the point person, because if things go well, what were we listening or yesterday says when we experience success, you know, I look out the window to see who else I can give the credit to on my team. When things go bad, it's 100% on me. Yeah. And that's the right heart of a leader, in my opinion. Good.
Loyalty. If we're looking for other qualities, I would say I can tell you at least 5 people that care for my business and company just as much as me. And some days, maybe even more.
Some days when you walk
when
in,
I'm
you're
ready
like,
to sell for $1,
I'm ready to burn it all down.
You know, when they think things aren't going well, they take it incredibly seriously and to their heart. And so, yeah, those are the things that when I see that, those are the people that I'm going to invest in.
Yes. And those are the same people that, like you said, those are people that you want to partner with because they see when you're off and they're willing to step in. They're also, if they're really good, they kind of call you out and bring you up, you know? And Brene Brown talks about that in her marriage relationship. And when she comes home, if she's just had a horrible day, her and her husband check in and they're like, what do you got? And he's like, I've got 80%. And she's like, well, I've got 20. He's like, I got you covered.
Yeah.
And having those people at home and at work is super important because let's be honest. Yes, you wake up and you work out and, you know, but for me, having a teenager at home doesn't matter how on fire your day is starting out, right? You just listen to an amazing podcast or sermon or whatever.
There's always something.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, the more successful we've gotten, when we've talked on end about this, but there's always something and you get used to that. That just becomes part of it, but you don't let those things knock you off course, but they can. I mean, you at least for a while until you get in there and you start serving and you get some other stuff going, it kind of hangs around, but you got to just, you know, be able to brush it off.
Yeah. There's always a fire.
Yeah. It's always on fire. Okay. So we've been talking about all the positives. Let's talk about maybe some of the struggles along the way, because you don't get a successful multi-decade business that continues to grow at this point without developing resilience. Maybe talk about some of the things that have been struggles for you that you could think of. Or has it just been all sunshine and roses? Maybe I know I'm not, but maybe I am wrong.
COVID is one. Like we all have PTSD from that.
Yes, especially in Michigan where they try to shut literally everything down.
Not this girl.
You're a bit of a rebel, and I thank God they didn't do that in Texas where I am.
Yeah, we've had quite a few things. I remember my first year, I made a profit and my accountant didn't know that we were going to do that and called me on April 15th and said I had to come up with, you know, $30,000. And I was 27 years old and I didn't even pay myself the first year or two that I was at practice. So I had to take out a loan.
You're like, wait, those were retained earnings. I didn't take it as a...
So, I mean, like that was the first thing that like just threw me for a spin, because how do you come up with that much money? I was, you know, $500,000 in debt for student loans and then the business. And now I had this tax and I can't evade taxes.
Did you get a new accountant?
We did.
Yeah.
You know, we were advised to go to pay doctors in a certain way, a percentage over total collections, even though the doctors weren't generating that. I was generating most of the income. And so that almost bankrupted us because we were paying our associates all this money.
Yeah.
And I was making less than my associates, but seeing 3 times as much.
You were working to pay them.
Yeah. And so like it almost bankrupted us. And I had 3 little kids, and Mark looked at me and he's like, this isn't working.
Yeah, it doesn't work. And you know that I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been in that situation as well.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful who you listen to.
Yeah.
And this isn't to point out any one organization
Nope.
or whatever it is, but
It was my business.
Yes, it's our business. But when you're evaluating who you're going to listen to, it's, are they actually doing this, or have they done it? Have they proven it, or is it just theory? Because it's easy to sit in one place and have ideas about something. Matter of fact, that's rampant in our country right now. People have ideas about, how we should run government and all this stuff. But the thing is that they've never been in that position. They've never been in that trench in the warfare. And anyway, you just have to be careful who you choose as an advisor and be able to evaluate things. And you've said this, I've said this, what works at one level
doesn't necessarily work at the next.
That's right. New level, new devil, but you have to be able to play this out. And even where we are, sometimes our associates or our staff will come and there's like, hey, I've got a friend that's doing this. Why don't we try this? And we appreciate the input, but most of the time the answer is, that sounds really good at this, but where we're going, the wheels will fall off. Or we've done that in the past, but once we got to this point, it's not scalable in what we're trying to do. So, so
now all of the things are flooding through my brain of all of the obstacles that we've encountered.
What else have you encountered? Let's talk about that.
Oh, wasn't trying to.
No.
Losing doctors.
Yeah.
Then having to pick up and treat for all those patients, so that because you can't take care of people and provide care and then suddenly not be able to take care of them.
And there's like a legal obligation.
Yeah.
You can't abandon patients. So someone has to take care of them.
Keep team members when they leave. Like, it can really rock your world because as much as you want to be a business professional and just an employer, you still take on the responsibility of these people. Like, you care.
You care about them.
You care. So, I mean, there's just been lots of it. There is always something.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for those things, because then you can appreciate the good even more because of the challenges.
And I think also the more of those you go through and you learn that, hey, it's not personal. God has a different plan for them. And although for the season they were with us, we love them. They were extremely helpful. But there was something that just was off, or they were being called to something else. Sometimes it's our fault because we didn't paint the vision for them, or they didn't see the path to go with us, I think.
I think it also depends where you are emotionally too. Like, I've found, as I've learned more about myself as a leader, I don't want somebody at my office that is not thriving anymore, and even somebody that leaves on good terms, but also somebody that you have to let go. If they're not thriving in your space, they are a good person. You hired them for a reason.
Right.
Let them go so they can thrive somewhere else. And that's been one of the biggest challenges that we've had in our team.
So hard.
Because, my team doesn't ever want to let anybody go. They're like, but I like them. And I'm like, but if you really like them and you care about them, you don't want them going home at the end of the day, every day, feeling like they failed.
Yes.
And this might not be the environment in which they thrive. And they can go work at this other place where they'll be successful and thrive and feel good about themselves. And you can still be friends. So that's been like a big thing that we've worked on with our leaders and our clinic directors.
And that's huge, not taking it personal, because it's true. I mean, we care about our team. We pray for our team. I pray for wisdom and health for our team. And I want God's will in my business and in their lives, in my life as well. And it is a little bit painful when you've put so much into them. But I recently lost almost a 10-year staff member, and she was an office manager, but she was like a receptionist at a gym. And she started training for our front desk, and we had done some improvement plans for her, and I was about to let her go. And then someone said, well, she's severely dyslexic. And I was like, I had no idea. So all we did was tweak how we were training her. This girl blossomed, and it was just amazing. And she rose the ranks. I mean, she became head of all of our office managers. And she knew our systems in and out. She knew, I mean, she just stepped into this confidence from this young little shy girl, and she was on our executive committee too, where we would have meetings once a month, and she would push back against me on things and go, yes, but here's what you don't know about, these positions and all this stuff. And when you have somebody like that and you lose them, oh, I cried. Amy cried.
It hurts, but you served your purpose and time in her life for that moment so that she can go on and do the next thing.
And she's going to do great. And sometimes you're a stepping stone.
Yeah.
But you don't want that stepping stone to be an anchor for them. You want them to fly. If God has something else for them, I don't want to be the one that tries to hold them back or throws more money at it or whatever.
Well, and we have this conversation in our office too. Like, there has to be some churn, some turnover, because you can't bring in new great people if there isn't somebody that leaves.
Right. Yeah.
Except for with expansion. You can bring more people in with expansion, but that next person might need to be the person that you need to get to that next level.
Yep. Yeah. So that's where, for me, faith comes in. And like, God's got a plan. I can't tell everybody, hey, I think God's got a plan for our business and for our life, and I'm seeking him for that. And then when these things happen, go, where did I screw up or what? Yes, you need to reflect and go, what could we learn? What could we do better? Yeah. But sometimes just part of the plan, right? And things are just getting called out so that you can have better.
Yeah.
And
they can have better.
We just said it didn't happen to us. It happened
for us.
For us. That's right. Okay. So what advice would you give other high achieving moms?
Give yourself some grace. You're doing so much better than you think. As a mom, we just automatically feel guilty. We feel like we're guilty when we're at work or the office because we should be with the kids. When we're with the kids, we should be at the work or office helping, our team. And it's okay. It is okay. You were given these gifts to accomplish what you've accomplished for a reason. And it is not serving God the way that you should if you dismiss the gifts that you've been given. And that has probably been something that's been the hardest for me to wrestle with, because I feel guilty pretty much. I don't know a mom that doesn't feel guilty all the time, but I'm getting better at it. And I think it's probably because my kids are older and I'm seeing that they're okay.
Yeah. They did okay.
They're all right. So I feel like that's probably helped a little bit. But I mean, I was at a conference and something happened with my oldest, and, she was texting me and I felt so bad because I wasn't there. And truthfully, if I had been there, she probably wouldn't have opened up to me. It was easier for her to text because that's what we do this generation. But it didn't matter because I had the guilt. But what I was doing was investing in myself so that I could be a better provider, better leader. And when I'm a better leader, that translates to being a better mother. Yes. Because I learned to communicate better. I learned to do.
And your kids are going to do great things because of that. I firmly believe that. And, whatever greatness is for them, I think they're going to be confident, and they're amazing. They're all taller than me. I mean, the entire family's taller than me. Even their 13-year-old's taller than me. Yeah. So if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, I mean, it could be way back in college. It could be the young Dr. Tonya. Yeah. What would that be?
So what I would tell myself is to just breathe. But then I would like to tell my younger self that I could back out and not be tied to my identity the way that I was.
Oh yeah. We just talked about that yesterday.
Yeah. I think I would love to be where I am now, maybe 5 years earlier. And I probably wasn't ready for that. But if I could have done that sooner, I think I would have enjoyed that even more.
And let me just frame that, because we're not talking about just financial for...
I'm not talking financial at all.
Well, you are, yeah, but I just want to make sure everyone that watches this understands this, because in the context of our conversation, you said I would love to go back and maybe start stepping back from practice, continue to mentor and pour in doctors, because your effectiveness and your reach becomes exponential at that point. Yeah. You make a difference in instead of a few thousand lives, tens of thousands of lives.
Yes. And in the doctors' lives and the team members' lives too.
Yes.
So thank you for articulating it way better than I can. Yeah. But yeah, I think I would have loved to have been more in the CEO role a little sooner.
Yes.
And I didn't think I could do it, and I could have.
Yes, absolutely could. I mean, you inspire me, you inspire so many others, and I'm so grateful for you being here today. let people know that watch this, how they could get a hold of you if they had questions, or maybe you're one of those moms that's a professional, and or maybe you're a man that's a professional, and you like, I need that type of mentorship. I need somebody that's been down this path, and you could reach out to her. She does coaching. She does one-on-one coaching. Like we said, we have a coaching event together. I do coaching as well, but today's about her. And how could they reach out to you, maybe for more information, or even just like a little spot coaching?
I would be happy to do a free consult if anybody was interested. I would say email me at dr.tonya, Tonya, at bthclinics.com. Ryan will have that in the show notes. But yeah, if there's any way that I can help anybody, I would love to. It's been the greatest gift to me is to see my clients. Like, one of my clients had a goal of having a passive income property, and we got it in less than 6 months of coaching together. And it was all their work.
Yes.
They did all of it. Just to be able to be a part of that process and helping them get to that point was really, it's just so rewarding.
That's the thing I love about coaching as well, is seeing people fulfill those goals. When you start out, you're like, what do you want? And then you go a little deeper and you're like, what do you really want?
Yeah.
And then why do you want that? And when you start to see that come to fruition, success leaves a trail. We've had mentors, and like I said, we mentor each other, but there is a trail, and someone who's been down that path can expedite the process for you. I've done that too, and I know you do as well, but just helping people reorganize their financial structure and see things, and all of a sudden you see their net worth go up, and it's not all about the money, but it's about their goals. And when they can start to achieve that in their life, that is so rewarding. But like I said, you found a way to make your effectiveness and impact exponential outside of the four walls of your clinic. And so I'm honored to have you to call you friend and mentor. And you know what, if this has struck something in you, please reach out to Tonya or myself. And, we just want to leave you with this, that you are capable of way more than you think you are. And our ultimate goal is to build that life that's worth living.
Build a life worth living. 360